Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next lesson in the Su-25T Cadet Series. This time we're gonna do one of the iconic works that the Su-25T can do. That is seed/dead. The Su-25T can be armed with anti-radiation missiles. They are weapons, munitions that is specifically designed to destroy enemy radars. Please note that what you're shooting at and destroying is the radar, not the SAM systems itself. It is not the missile you destroy, it is the radar. If you come up against an enemy that have integrated air defense system, IADS, you may need to destroy several radars in a large area for them not to be able to fire missiles at you. There are 3 dedicated anti-radiation missiles in DCS worlds for the Su-25T. From the inner pylon, the big gray one, it is the Cadet 58U. That is a massive missile or rocket and its range depends on your altitude. We will get a demonstration of how important it is to always be up high as far as the situation allows, of course. I believe I have been able to fire the Cadet 58U at 70 or 75 kilometers away. So it is a very long-reaching missile or rocket. Next, here on the next pylon, the middle missile, we have the Cadet 25MP. That is also an anti-radiation missile. But as you can see in the name, here the Cadet 58U has IN and PASS RDR. That means inertial navigation and passive radar. What that means is that passive radar means that the missile does not send out anything. It only receives the signal from or the energy of the radiation from the radar it is supposed to hit. Therefore, the missile can be very hard to detect because it does not have any radar, it does not have any active sensor. It is passive, it can only receive. This missile again is a very nice missile because it does not weigh that much, and you can actually have 4 of those missiles on the Su-25T. Next in line, one that is almost identical, we have the Cadet 25MPU that has inertial navigation and passive radar. What that means is the inertial navigation gives the missile a longer leg, it gives it a longer reach. By that, when you lock the radar and the second you press the trigger to fire the missile, the range and direction to the target, to the radar, is saved and locked into the missile. So the missile knows that I need to go that direction or that bearing for, let's say, 15 kilometers. Whenever it reaches a certain point at a certain distance from that radar, it can use its passive radar. That means between launch and the effective range of the passive radar, it flies dumb, if you like. It does not see or hear anything. It just knows that direction and for that long. And when it gets into reach, it turns on its sensor and listens or sees for that, or listens for the radar. It does not see the radar because it is passive. So whenever the initial or inertia navigation stage is over, is completed, the two missiles are the same. So the advantages of using inertial navigation is that you can fire the missile or launch the missile further away. So has the Cas-58U also has inertial navigation and passive radar. That is why you can launch the missile so far away, also because it has a larger rocket engine. And one thing, it is not called fire and forget. It is called launch and leave. If you say fire on a boat, on a plane, or anything, it means literally fire. Something is burning. That is what fire means. You either say shoot or launch. You never ever say fire. So it is launch and leave. You launch the missile and then you leave it. You go on your merry way. One more thing on this Su-25T is the ECM ports. The ports are MPS 410 and they are electronic countermeasures, jammer ports. With those mounted, we can now turn on the ECM. The effectiveness of the ECM is debatable, but I believe that there is some videos on YouTube where people has actually tested how effective the ECM ports are, and they are, yes, they technically work, but depending on the situation, the range, the angle, and so on, the effectiveness is debatable. Yeah, but as a good measure, I always carry them on a dedicated seat mission. And lastly, you need your Phantasmagoria E-link port. Without this port, you cannot get targeting data to your missiles. Therefore, you must have the E-link port on. Otherwise, you can use your missiles. You cannot just fire them and then they log on to the first target they hear. That is not how they work. How the modern versions of these missiles work, I do not know. But let's get into the game and go for a fly. Right now I'm at 5,000 meters, as you can see in the top right of the HUD. We have a medium range radar pinging us, and that is the primary threat. Therefore, we go to air to ground mode, E-link, and we can also, now that we are here, turn our DSCM and ECM. As you see, the ECM flashes. It is warming up. When it stops flashing and is solid, the ECMs are warmed up and running. It is very important now, as you can see, my angle of attack is 12 degrees because my speed is so low. It is very important at this altitude to maintain your airspeed. I'm gonna change weapons to Cas-58, and now I'm gonna dive a bit to be able to get the targeting port on the target. Therefore, right now, as you see, we are at 48 kilometers away and we can fire the missile. That is a very nice range. So if I press the trigger, the missile will fly away and hit the target. The missile is a lofting missile. That is that the missile flies straight ahead. When it's clear of the aircraft, it will go up and dive on the target. That way it increases its range dramatically. Yes, it will spend some energy on going up, but that energy is recapped very nicely and with some surplus in the dive. So as you can see, at roughly 5 kilometers and 50 kilometers, 5 kilometers altitude and 50 kilometers away. That is a very nice range. Right now I will demonstrate how important altitude is when launching these missiles. I'm gonna descend now, and slowly you will see that the maximum range is slowly coming down. So I'm gonna descend. Gonna deploy speed brakes or air brakes to avoid overspeeding. Descend a bit faster. See, the maximum range is fast coming down. Right now I'm at 40 kilometers from the radar. I can still fire, and now I'm at 2.5 kilometers, halfway towards the ground, and our maximum range have decreased by over 10 kilometers. Slowly climbing out. See? Suddenly the maximum range is only 30 kilometers. Over 20 kilometers lost. Therefore, it is very important to be as high as possible. And now we're so low that we are below radar detection. Let's launch it. Let's see what happens. And on the next target, see, the missile is lofting. And the range on the 25 MPU is at this altitude, at 100 meters above ground, it is 17 kilometers. Let's see how far it is when we're climbing. Over 20 kilometers. It's slowly coming up. So if we reload this mission and see how close or how far away we can use the 25 MPU, you can see how massive of a difference it makes to be up in the air, high up. See, before it was 17 kilometers at 100 meters. Right now it is 80, 60, 40, it is 30 kilometers. Because each line there is 80, 60, 40, 20, 0. So 30 kilometers instead of 17, just with this missile. Therefore, altitude is king when doing seed or dead missions. And please note that I would consider this type of mission a seed mission, because a dead mission you often need to get into the target area. And let's take a look how the MP missile, see the difference, 30 kilometers or 12 kilometers. That is the inertial navigation system helping you. Suddenly it is 20 kilometers longer using the inertial navigation system. Therefore, MPUs, CAS 25 MPU are the preferred missile, because they are just so long reaching and they have a lot of bang for your buck, and it does not weigh nearly as much as the 58, which we can launch now at 40 kilometers. So it is very important to use the altitude. So there is not that much more to it. One thing to mention is that, of course, as you saw, you can launch the anti-radiation missile from down below, from very low altitude, but you lose a lot of advantage, range advantage. But sometimes it can be necessary to get down low if the enemy air cover is too strong. If you need to approach the target silently and undetected. Just remember that for you to be able to lock onto the radar needs to see you. So yes, you can be hidden for a very long time for the radar, but the few seconds before launch you need to pop up. You need to have a radar energy hitting you. If the radar energy does not hit you, there are no targets for the missile to attack. But if the radar operator suddenly sees an aircraft coming up from below radar altitude just for a few seconds and then we're off to get back down, it is either an aircraft collecting alien data, or it had just fired anti-radiation missiles. So a experienced and competent radar operator would know that. Therefore, he could be forced to do a MCON, emission control, as we talked about in the previous lesson. Therefore, I consider these missions with the anti-radiation missions seed missions and not dead missions. Because just because the radar turns off when the counter reaches 0 does not mean that the radar is destroyed. It just means that the radar energy has stopped, and it could stop either by the radar being destroyed or the radar operator turning off the radar. See, I was much too close there. And don't forget that there are no 100% accuracy in anything. Even though the radar keeps radiating, keeps emitting radar energy, and the missile is launched at perfect parameters, there are no guarantee. Therefore, if you launch a missile, let's say I have my two CAS 58, I launch the first one, I expect the enemy air defense to shoot that down. Then within a few seconds, 5 seconds or so, I launch the second one, because their trajectory will be very much the same, and therefore the last missile I fired can be hidden behind the front missile. And the enemy air defense most often only sees and shoots at the first missile. The first missile is a sacrifice missile, where I expect the second missile to come through the enemy air defense and actually hit the target. So it is not because the accuracy or anything like that is so bad. It is just a very good way of cheating, if you like, the enemy air defense. So let's turn in. Just with the Cadet 58. And as you saw, the anti-radiation missile also has a minimum altitude, minimum range. And yes, I could have turned on my ECM now, but that was a bit fast after that. But they are lofting and they are diving. Let's see if the missile of the radar turns off. But often one missile, and then around 5 seconds later I fire the next one. 3 to 5 seconds later. So that is how I employ anti-radiation missiles. It is pretty easy, and just make sure that you have enough altitude if the enemy air cover and top cover allows it. Otherwise you need to go very low and relatively fast. So again, that is what the situation dictates. The enemy always dictates your tactics. So but that is it, and thank you.